Okay, can you see my screen? Okay, fine. So let's start. So I was discussing about the sensitivity. So we have seen the sensitivity, and I said that the sensitivity is very high. Now let's quickly see that what are the different advantages and disadvantages of the PMMC instrument. So first thing you have to remember that PMMC is only a DC type of instrument. It can measure the DC values of current, voltage, and all. Alternating current it cannot measure. And the most beneficial thing or most attractive feature is that it is sensitive to small current. It's very sensitive to small current, very sensitive, and it is very accurate and reliable. And another important thing is that, as you've seen, that theta is proportional to I, so it is a linear scale and it is a uniform scale. Okay, so no non-linearity, so always the space between the two consecutive scales are the same. Okay, very effective and robust build can it be made, and it consumes very less power. You see, there is no additional power, battery or anything inside the meter, and whenever it is used in the circuit it takes very small amount of current and power, so it literally does not affect the circuit parameters. Very low power consumption, 25 microwatt. It's so low, you see that it's 25 microwatt, and it is free from hysteresis as and not affected by the external field, because it's a permanent magnet, shields the coil from the external magnetic field. So it is permanent magnet actually shields the coil from the external magnetic field. And these all are the attractive advantages. So the main thing you need to remember, which is it is only for DC. So very tricky question comes in placement and other places, that what will happen if we send the AC to PMMC. Okay, most of the students say that okay, it will measure RMSC. No, it will not measure. It will deflect on the around, vibrate around zero. So it is not for AC. And the another attractive feature is it is a very sensitive to small current. It is very sensitive. Even if I was saying, even a small charge pass through it, it will deflect. And second important thing is it is linear scale. Okay, linear scale and very low power consumption, that you have to remember. Now, what are the disadvantage of PMMC instrument? This type of instrument can be operated on the direct current. That is the disadvantage. AC it cannot measure. So, in alternating current, what will happen? The instrument does not operate because in the positive half, the pointer will experience a force in one direction. In the negative half, the pointer will experience the force in opposite direction. And due to the inertia of the pointer, it cannot follow so fast the electrical things move. So if it is a 50 hertz, 10 hertz, so it is quickly going ups and down, positive, negative, positive, negative. But this is your mechanical pointer. It cannot follow the electrical parameter so fast. So what will happen? So due to the inertia of the pointer, it remains on the zero position. It retains on the zero position. That's it. You will see the zero. Whatever current or voltage or whatever you give, it will not show anything. It will remain in the zero position. The moving system is very delicate and can easily be damaged with the rough handling. Hmm. The coils are very fine, that is, it cannot be used prolonged because heating effect will come. Large amount of current you cannot pass, and due to its high sensitivity, it is costlier. It is costlier. Sometimes the aging of the instrument may introduce some error because the spring may get slack and magnetic field may change, all those things. So you need to recalibrate it after use. Use means after a few months or after a year of use. You can recalibrate it. Then again, it will be good. Okay, so now let's do some numerical examples, which is very important. So these numerical examples actually are taken from Sahani. So there are lots of examples in Sahani. You have to solve all the examples from Sahani. and you have to solve the exercise example from Sahani also. So you read Sahani, these are all taken from the Sahani. It is a very good book, Sahani and Sahani. The first day I said I referred this book as a textbook, and for particularly the electrical measurement of electrical parameters, the Sahani is very good. You will see there are different books people generally prefer, like Helfrich Cooper and Kalsi and so on. But Sahani is the best, whatever I have seen. It is so. There are few mistakes, obvious mistakes are there, printing mistakes. So you have to read little bit carefully. But it is many numerical examples are solved, and almost everything is written very in detail. That is not the case of Helprit Cooper or Sahani. Okay, those books are there, they are not as good as Sahani. So let's read the book. So here also this example is taken from the Sahani. So you see this is a very good example. So here you see a galvanometer moving system is shown. So there is a former you can see, and it is on the iron core that you can see, and you have it is suspended from the top at bottom. So you see that it is suspended with a wire which is 0.1 millimeter diameter, and on the top it is length is 15 millimeter, on the bottom its length is 15 millimeter. So a wire is used as a torsion member in a small galvanometer. See here, no spring, nothing is there, only wire. So it acts as a torsion member, and a small galvanometer is 0.1 millimeter in diameter, arranged as shown in the figure. So it is made of phosphor bronze, for which the modulus of rigidity, which is important, this is 40 Gn per meter square. Now we have to calculate the angular torque and maximum allowable torque if the stress is limited to 100 Mn per meter square. So a ray, you see the ray is so the mirror is attached on the former. This is important. Sorry, attached on the former. So a ray is coming and getting deflected by the galvanometer mirror. The radius from the mirror to the circular scale is 200 millimeter, and calculate the sensitivity of the instrument and the maximum possible scale deflection. So now for the round wire, this is coming from the mechanical part. So from the round wire, T by IP will be equals to F by R, where the T is the torque, we know, and F is the shear stress, R is the radius, and IP is the moment of inertia, which is pi by 32 into d to the power 4. These are from mechanical part is coming, because this rigid body is rotating, mechanical part will definitely come. And that will be equals to G theta by L, where G is the modulus of rigidity that is given, and theta is the deflection, L is the length of the wire. So IP is the moment of inertia, those things, whatever may be. So from here we see that theta by t equals to 1 by G IP. Theta by t will be equals to 1 by G. So since there are two wires, so theta by t will be equals to 1 by 2 GIP. So the deflection is half for all the singular wires. Now you see if this the thing, so theta by t is coming as the 19. We substitute all the things we know, that 16L length we know, then we know the G is given 40 giganewton per meter or something. Small d is given, radius of the wire is given. So total torsional constant, which is theta by t, will be equals to this one. We got it. So now the maximum torque, whatever is given, is FIPR. All the things you substitute, you will get the torque, and the scale is kept at the 200 millimeter. So therefore, sensitivity of the scale will be equals to theta by t into 200. That's what we see. So this is a kind of mechanical example. Okay, so all those moment of inertia and everything you need to know before you solve. So, but this is required because ultimately you are working with mechanical part. So now let's see another example which is not that much mechanical. This one is kind of electrical sense. So the coil of a moving coil galvanometer is wound on a non-magnetic former. Okay, non-magnetic former whose height and width are both 2 centimeters. So it is 2 centimeter by 2 centimeter. Height is 2 centimeter, width is 2 centimeter. So it moves. So area is 2 into 2. So it moves in a constant magnetic field of 0.12 Weber per meter square. The moment of inertia of its moving part is given. So J is given, and the control of the spring constant K is also given. So we have to calculate the number of turns that we need to wound on the coil to produce a deflection of 150 degree with the current of 10 milliampere. So suppose if 10 milliampere pass, we need a deflection of 150 degree, and for that we need to calculate how many number of wounds we need to give. This is very simple. So what is the final steady state deflection? That is 150 degree, and if all things are in units are in SI, you need to convert into radian. Theta in degree will not work. So we need to convert radians. So it is coming 5 by 6 pi radians. So now the current is 10 milliampere. That means 10 into 10 to the power minus 3 ampere. Spring constant is K, which is given 30 into 10 to the power minus 6. So what is the final steady state deflection that we know? This, that is GI by K. So G is the galvanometer constant, I is the current, K is the spring constant. So what is the displacement constant then? G will be equals to K theta F by I. So what do we need? K is given 30 into 10 to the power minus 6. Theta F is the final steady state deflection, that is also given 5 by 6 pi radian. What is I for to produce 150 degree? That is 10 in 10 milliampere. So 10 into 10 to the power minus 3. So what is the G which we need? That is need 2.5 pi into 10 to the power minus 3. That much amount of galvanometer constant is required. So we know that the galvanometer constant is NBLD. So the number of turns will be N will be equal to G by BLD, and G values we know 2.5 pi into 10 to the minus 3. B is given, which is 0.12 Weber per meter square. L is given 2 centimeter, that means 0.02 meter. D is given, that is the width, that is 0.02 meter. So ultimately we are getting 164. So we need to have 164 number of turns to be wound on the coil to produce a deflection of 150 degree with a current of 10 milliampere. Okay, now the next part is the resistance of the coil to produce the critical damping. Okay, so all dampings are assumed to be electromagnetic. So air friction damping is neglected. So what will be the resistance of the coil to produce critical damping? So here we know, we have seen that R resistance will be G square by 2 root over Kj. So G we know, the galvanometer constant, and K we know is given, J is given, which is given by inertia of the 2.25 into 10 to the power minus 6. So everything, if it is given, you substitute, you will get the value of R 11.25 ohm. And among these value, if we know that what will be the value of the resistance of the galvanometer coil, so from there, if we subtract that from the 11.25, we know how much external resistance we have to keep in order to get the critically damped system. Okay, so from here we can see. So let's see if you are asking any question or anything. Okay, there is no question. So what you basically will do, you take the book of Sahani, you solve, or actually you read these analog meters from the beginning. You will see this is very interesting, and you will learn a lot of things. And also you solve this, you see the all solve examples, and also you see all exercise examples. So which one you need to do, and then the examples, the problem may come in exam from those examples. Okay, so now let's move forward. The next part is the galvanometer shunt. Okay, so galvanometer shunt is next we'll read. So as I was discussing, what I discussed, that I said that galvanometer, or now at least you know that the galvanometer is a very sensitive instrument, and its coils has to be very thin. So the current passes through it must be very less so that the coils does not heat or burn. So then you may ask question, then galvanometer can only measure the small current. The answer is no, because as I said that inside the galvanometer there is a shunting mechanism in which most of the current of the circuit will pass through the shunt. A very less amount of current will pass through the galvanometer. So design of galvanometer shunt is very important. Design of galvanometer shunt is very important because you have to design the shunt in such a way that the current passing through the galvanometer coil does not exceed to some predefined value. So suppose you have some wattage of that wire and there is constraint that uh, the current less than this should always be passed and it cannot be greater than this, otherwise the coil will be heated up and burned. So you have to design a shunt in such a way that the current inside the galvanometer or current through the galvanometer should not rise more than its limit. So that is the galvanometer shunt. So galvanometer shunt is extremely important because in each galvanometer you have to have a galvanometer shunt which will limit the current flowing through the galvanometer, and the current flowing through the galvanometer must be current flowing through the galvanometer must be less than its limit. And that is what I mean to say. So more specifically, if I want to say that in preliminary balancing work in bridge circuit, so potential difference across the galvanometer circuit may be high, uh, but in such scenario, so large current may pass through the galvanometer, but damaging the instrument. So damage may occur due to heating and burning of the wires, or sometimes it happen that as the very large amount of current passes, not the continuous current or huge charge passes, then what happens that mirror get deflected at maximum deflection, even more than maximum deflection, and it is so large that that large twist of the mirror happens, and then the mirror does not come to its original position. That also may happen. So one thing is the damage may happen, and even if very large amount of current or charges passes instantaneously, not continuous, that time damage may not happen. But what may happen that the reflection may be so high that the mirror get displaced or twist, and then it did not come back. It does not come back to its original position. That also may happen. So to avoid those things, we need the simple procedure so that the current or charge does not uh, will not pass more than the specified amount. So what we can do the two things. First thing is that we can give a very large high resistance in series with the galvanometer so that the current of the circuit itself is limited, and we get the specific amount of current inside the galvanometer. But the main problem with that, it reduces the voltage sensitivity. So if you give the high resistance in series, it reduces the voltage sensitivity. Now if you give the low resistance connected across the galvanometer, so it may also reduce the current sensitivity definitely, and it may overdamp the instrument. But we generally use the low resistance in the shunting path so that the specific amount of current passes through the galvanometer, and we don't want to limit the circuit resistance. But so galvanometer shunt is most important. So here you have seen that there is a shunting mechanism where galvanometer is placed, and in between there is a resistance and there is a slider. So you see that this is a kind of bridge. From bridge it may come, or from other circuit it may come. So you can see that this slider, and it is dividing the current into the two parts. One is going through the galvanometer, another is coming to the going out of, another is bypassing. So you can adjust the point b, small b, such a way that the current on the galvanometer is limited to the to its maximum extent. So now So we have to design. So from this discussion, it is clear that we have to design a galvanometer shunt. So the most popular shunting mechanism of the galvanometer is the Arieton shunt. Okay, we'll come into it. But this picture is clear. You see that this current is divided into two parts. One is going through the A and RG galvanometer, and another is going to the BC path, and we have to adjust the pointer B such a way that whatever be the current in the circuit, the current will be limited below its maximum range, maximum possible current it can pass through the galvanometer. Now, if you see the Arieton shunt, which is the most important and popular, so here it is very important. First, let's see the circuit. So it is an universal shunt. Why it is called universal? We'll come to it later. First, try to understand the circuit. So here you see that the current from the circuit I is coming to the galvanometer or PMMC instrument. Current through this from the circuit I is coming. So I is the input current. Okay, you remember this I is the input current. Now you see there is another term you can see, which is IGB, right? IGB you can see. So what is IGB? IGB is the current through the galvanometer. Okay, IGB is the current through the galvanometer when the pointer is at B. So when the pointer is at A, what is the current through the galvanometer? IGA. When the pointer is at C, what is the current through the galvanometer? IGC. When the pointer is at D, what is the current through the galvanometer? IGD. So that is the case, right? So, and then you just see that the full resistance is RGH. When the pointer is at B, the resistance is R3. It is RSH, full resistance. When the pointer is at point B, the resistance is R3. When the pointer is at point C, the resistance is R2. When the pointer is at point D, the resistance is R1. So we have all R1, R2, R3 and RSH resistance. Now let's see, at any point of time, the pointer may be at A. Okay. So if the pointer is at A, what will be the current passing through the galvanometer? That is RSH, that means full resistance, divided by RSH plus RG, because galvanometer resistance is RG. When the pointer is at point B, you remember what is the point B here? Then the current passes through the galvanometer is IGB. So then IGB will be what? In one path, there will be RSH minus R3 plus RG. In another path, it is R3. So what will be the IGB current? IGB will be equals to I multiplied into R3 by R3 plus RSH minus R3 plus RG. Okay, or RSH plus RG minus R3. So it will be RS R3 I into R3 by RSH plus RG. So current to the galvanometer at the point B. So here it is written, now I did not explain it, 0.1, 1, 0.1, 0.01. So when the galvanometer is at point B, that means current through the galvanometer will be 0.1 of the full current I. So we can write IGB by IA if we take the two ratio, IGB by IA. What will be there? I will cancel out. RSH plus RG will cancel out. So we'll get R3 by RSH. So now if we keep R3 by RSH is 0.1, we can keep it easily. Resistance is in our hand. So we can tell IGB by IGA will be equals to 0.1. That means at B point is the current passing is a 0.1 or 0.1 times multiplied by IGA. Okay, so similarly we can keep the pointer at C and we can tell that R2 by RSH, if we take 0.01, then what will happen? That R2, so R1 by RSH, instead of, we can keep it R3 by RSH, instead of that we can keep R2 by RSH as 0.01 and R1 by RSH at 0.001. So as a result, what we are getting, when we are at point A, the full current will pass through the galvanometer. When we are point B, 0.1 multiplier or times multiplier, that much current will pass through the galvanometer. When we are at point C, 0.01 times current of I will pass through the galvanometer. When we are at point D, 0.001 times of current will pass through the galvanometer. So here you see the resistance R1, R2, R3, what we have to choose. It is the ratio. For example, RSH, what we are choosing by R3 by RSH should be 0.1, R2 by RSH should be 0.01, R1 by RSH should be 0.001. So this is easily we can choose. Now another thing you can see that in this choice what we are getting. So at the, if it is at the point A, we can get, the whole current will pass. That means suppose your galvanometer is limited to 10 milliampere and your circuit current maximum range can come 10 milliampere, so it will be, slider will be at A. Now if your current in the circuit is coming 100 milliampere, so you have to have your slider at point B, so that only 0.1 of the current will pass through the galvanometer, which is 10 ampere, and rest of the current 90 ampere will pass through the rest of the circuit. When your current is 1000 milliampere, then you should have at point C, so the rest of the current will pass through it and the specific current 10 milliampere or so will pass. Now here 1000 milliampere means 1 ampere. So at, if you want to measure 10 ampere, so your slider will be at point D, so that you can measure the 10 ampere, but the current only 10 milliampere will pass through the circuit of the galvanometer. So here you see with this slider you have a knob. It can be A, it can be B, it can be C, it can be D, and you can write it there, the range. So based on your circuit current, you can select the range of the galvanometer, and your galvanometer can measure a large amount, small to very large amount of current if you are using this Arieton shunt. So now the point is why it is called the universal shunt. You see here in Arieton shunt there is nowhere RG is coming, because RG is cancelling everywhere. So it is only the R3, R1, R2 and RSH. So it is independent of RG. So this shunt, if you build, it is applicable to any galvanometer you have. So you can attach this with any galvanometer you have. That is what it is called as a universal shunt. So it should be noted that the relative values of the current to the galvanometer and the shunt do not depend upon the value of the galvanometer resistance. So the shunt thus gives the same relative current value for the various steps of the galvanometer, although not the same fraction of the total current. Therefore, it is called a universal shunt. Initially, we should keep the sliding contact at lower end. So this you should remember. Initially, you should not keep the sliding contact at A. Initially, you should keep the sliding contact at D. Okay, at the lower end. This divert most of the current to the shunt and hence decrease the sensitivity of the galvanometer. The sliding contact can be moved up and sensitivity can be increased as we approach the balance condition. Okay, so this is the part. So now there is one example. This is very useful example. Generally, such type of example comes in the exam. Let's see. So the galvanometer has this kind of data. Its sensitivity is 0.004 microampere per millimeter. Its coil resistance is 50 ohm. Its critical damping resistance CDRX is 300 ohm. So its coil resistance is 50 ohm. It is being used in the bridge measurement with the Arieton shunt of 500 resistance. Bridge measurement means you want to know the balance condition. Is the galvanometer overdamped or underdamped under this condition of use? Explain briefly. So here you see what is your total resistance. So it is shown that RSH is the 500 ohm and you are keeping it as 500 ohm, and resistance, circuit resistance is 50 ohm. So total is 550 ohm. So you know the external critically damped resistance is 300 ohm. So resistance of the circuit for critically damped is GDRX plus RS is 350 ohm, but the RS plus RG is 550 ohm. So you see that the galvanometer circuit resistance 550 ohm is larger than the critically damped resistance 350 ohm. So the galvanometer damping is smaller than the critical, hence the galvanometer will work as a under damped system. Okay, D is greater than. So now let's come to the point B. What is the sensitivity galvanometer with the shunt at maximum setting? Okay, that means the shunt at the maximum setting means the whole resistance of the shunt is in parallel with the galvanometer. Therefore, the sliding contact will be A for maximum setting. Okay, so in such cases, we know that RGA will be equals to I into RSH by RSH plus RG. We know RSH equals to 500 ohm. So 500 by 500 plus 50. So it is 0.909 microampere into I. So now the current, what is the current is passing through? Just 1 minute. So the current sensitivity is 0.004. So if we see that 0.004 microampere deflects the galvanometer through 1 millimeter, therefore the deflection of the galvanometer will be 0.909 by 0.004, that is 227.25 I millimeter. So sensitivity will be I by 1 by deflection is the sensitivity, so I by 227.25 or 0.0044 microampere per millimeter. So that is the sensitivity 0.0044 microampere. Okay, next, what should be the shunt tap to give the sensitivity 0.1 as great as in B? So if we want a 0.01 sensitivity, so more sensitivity if we want, then new value of the sensitivity will be 0.44, 0.01 times in the B. That's what it said. What it says, it should be tapped to give it sensitivity as great as in B. So our new sensitivity will be 0.0044 into 0.01 into 1 by 0.01, 0.44 microampere per millimeter. Suppose the slider contact is at C when this sensitivity is obtained. So resistance being R2, so current through the galvanometer will be IGC will be this, and deflection will be this, sensitivity will be this. So R2 can be calculated from there. So you see this. So this is not very difficult. So now let's see if you have any query. So we read the universal shunt or Ireton shunt. Then there are few things remaining. One is the temperature compensation and swamping resistance. After that, we can go to the next instrument, which is permanent, which is moving iron instrument. So that will go. So let's see if you are asking anything or if you have any query. So all those things are from Sahani. You read it. It's a very good book and everything is there. So you have to read, solve the examples. That's all. So everything is from Sahani. So please read it. Okay. Okay. So tell me any question if you have. So I'm trying to go in every detail of the instrument so that you learn at least the electrical measurement you learn properly. This will be required if you in future if you take your career as an electrical engineer. So okay, so as you don't have any query or any comments or anything, so we can stop here. So next class I will inform you. So next week is there any class or not? So that I will mail you. So I'll inform you when the next class. Next week there may be class on Monday, there may not be. It depends on some other situation. That's what this week I took more classes. So I'll mail you. Okay, so from 11 onwards you have another class. Today we took a long class and we finished many things. So maybe half more is required to finish PMMC instrument. Then we'll go for moving iron instrument. Gradually we'll finish all the electrical measurement systems. Okay. So thank you for attending the class. So I expect more students to attend because it is nearly only 32 students who are coming. Class is very long. It is a 75 students. So even half of the students are not turning up. It is very difficult situation. Anyway, I am taking the attendance. So I'll see what can be done. Okay. Thank you all of you for attending the class. Now we can stop here. We'll keep on going. Thank you all of you again and have a nice day.